Hello, welcome to Pro Gaming Weekly. Before we get into the news and highlights, I wanted to bring your attention to the bottom of the screen. We're adding a ticker to show matches that we know the results of, but the VODs aren't available, or we just didn't have the time to include the highlights in the show. Those highlights take a lot of time to put together, so we think this is a good addition to the show, since it lets us cover more esports than we can get into the highlights. It's still a work in progress, and it may change a little bit over the next few weeks, so please bear with us as we figure out the best way to manage it. Also, a reminder to help spread the word about our giveaway. Once we reach 100 likes on Facebook, we're giving away a $20 gift card to Jinx.com. We have plans for bigger and better giveaways and for other milestones in the future, headsets, keyboards, mice, that sort of thing, so keep spreading the word. We want to give this stuff away, but we can't get there without your help. Now let's look at some news. With a huge amount of fanfare, we learned that CBS Interactive has formed a partnership with Twitch TV and MLG. In a quieter press release, we learned that the same deal was struck with North American Star League. This is a huge deal for esports. It brings more major media attention to esports, and while it's not 100% clear what this means other than CBS and their reputation helping promote and land sponsors, it's still huge. The press release focuses on live streaming and no mention of esports coming to our televisions, but this is a good first step. Remember Scarlett? You know, the basically unknown player from Canada that made waves at IPL 4 by beating some highly ranked GSL players? Remember when I said we were going to see more of her? Well, I'm glad I didn't end up a liar, because now she's found a team to be a part of. It was announced this week that she has joined Eclypsia and will represent them in MLG Anaheim this June. I can't believe she did as well as she did as an independent, and it's going to be interesting to see how she does with the backing of a team to help her prepare. I'm looking forward to it, because even though I have my favorite big-name players, I always enjoy seeing an underdog work their way up, and I wish her luck. It may not be professional gaming, but it's still esports. The Collegiate Star League announced the first ever esports scholarship named Excellence in Esports. This scholarship will award 2 gamers $1,000 each per year of their college careers. The first winners are going to be announced at the CSL Grand Finals on June 3rd. For information, you're going to have to hit up the CSL's website at cstarleague.com. Boxer's been suffering with some shoulder pain, and he's been getting by until now with medication. He has forfeited his Code A match with Xenix on May 1st in order to undergo therapy and rehab on his shoulder. In a translated statement, he expressed regret to his fans that he wouldn't be playing, but said that this step is necessary for him to continue his gaming career. Some have speculated this is the beginning of Boxer's retirement, but he has assured fans that this is a momentary break and that nobody should be worried about his retirement anytime soon. That's it for news. Let's look at some Code S highlights.
Looking at the Code S round of 32 bracket in the GSL, we've got Puzzle versus Naniwa. Here, about 6 minutes in, Naniwa warps a pylon in he had earlier, and it was timed perfectly to get these 2 extra stalkers to get a little extra harass on Puzzle and get some damage done, but an Immortal pops out here, and Naniwa's just got to pull back and go home, because there's no way these 3 stalkers, 4 that he started with, are going to have any impact among those stalkers and an Immortal. A little bit later, Puzzle gets a drop into Naniwa's base, does a fair amount of damage, but Naniwa manages to fight him off, loses those 2 Immortals, but still, Puzzle just seems to be a little bit ahead, especially here. He comes in, he gets the natural eventually. He does a lot of damage here. The thing is, Naniwa has Blink, and Puzzle does not have Blink at this point. So when Naniwa has to pull back, he's able to just force field the ramp and hold the ramp, even though he's going to lose his natural. He's still able to hold that ramp and kind of build up some forces. And then a little bit later, he just goes for it, and right there, Puzzle shows him the blink, says, "I gotcha." Nani says, "Okay, well, let's go all for broke then." He pushes in. He's just getting melted here by this Colossus, and he just has to GG, and we're heading on into Game 2 because there's no way he's going to fight that Colossus off with all of those Immortals and those Stalkers. In Game 2, we've got Puzzle coming into Nani's base, blinks past those force fields, and just goes right after the Immortals, and he does focus fire down the Immortals, does a lot of damage to him, gets 2 Immortals, but he still takes too much damage and has to pull back. About 8 minutes of game time later, Puzzle comes in with these amazing force fields right here, but there's just too much damage being done to Naniwa's, or to his forces rather, and he just does not win this fight. So Nani pushes in, and he takes down this natural. Puzzle just has to GG, and we're heading on into Game 3, tied up 1-1. And again in Game 3, not a whole lot of highlights. This is actually a relatively short game. Here we got Nani just kind of harassing in the base, showing Blink here as he gets out. He actually showed Blink on the way in too. He seemed to always get Blink faster than Puzzle in this entire match. Then a little bit later, Puzzle gets this good force, good position, but those 3 Colossus just doing way too much damage. Naniwa should have pulled back but didn't. He's still dealing out the damage. Then a little bit later, he just goes to counter with his big force of for Colossus here. Gets his force field, stops the retreat, and Puzzle has to GG, giving the win to Naniwa. Here we go. We got more action out of Code S in the GSL. We've got Ryung versus MVP, where early on in Game 1, MVP put a good contain on Ryung, and then here he's breaking out of it, getting a chance to expand just so he can keep up with MVP. Other than this, MVP just didn't seem to be playing like himself. He's got a Marine here. This, I know, isn't necessarily his fault, but it does not spot this medevac. This medevac is going up the side of the map to do a drop here, and its main purpose is to draw MVP's army out of position, not necessarily to do damage. Even though he gets a reactor, not a whole lot of damage, but it draws enough of the forces out of position for this to happen. With these tanks coming in, those Marines with the stem, it just catches MVP out of position because MVP's tanks were not sieged. Then Ryung drops these guys up. That lets these siege tanks have some vision. They get to do some damage from down low. Then a little bit later, even though they keep trading barrages here for a few minutes, a little bit later, Ryung comes in from the south to flank that army. He sieges up his tanks in the natural. MVP has to GG and give this one to Ryung, and we're heading on into Game 2. And in Game 2, Ryung sieges up on the low ground and takes out the gas there of MVP, and MVP does not punish that. He lets him get back out. A little bit later, he's moving up towards Ryung's base, and we've got this going on in the middle of the map as MVP is leapfrogging his tanks and inching forward, but Ryung is doing this with his medevacs. He's going to drop 2 full medevacs in MVP's main. They're going to take out units as they get built. They're going to take out a lot of SCVs and do a lot of damage to the economy. Puts MVP far enough back that even though when he does this push here, he's still just too far behind, and Ryung holds and wins the match. More action in Code S, round of 32 of the GSL. Here we've got MC versus Virus, where Virus gets early on a 4 medevac drop in the base of MC. MC gets some great force fields, but Virus ends up here using these force fields against MC as he goes for the mineral line because MC cut himself off. Ends up not working out too well here. Stalkers blinked behind the charge lots so they could get out and do their thing. Great blink, great micro by MC. Dealing a lot of damage here. The storm's going down. He's dropping in more units. He's got fresh storms coming in with this drop. Just an amazing play here with MC. A little bit later, Virus is pushing on him, and there's lots of storms going down here. MC ends up pulling back here, even though he deals tons of damage. And after this engagement, MC is now at 3-3 upgrades compared to Virus's 2-2. Then here a little bit later, the Nexus goes down. Virus had damaged it a lot earlier, and he finally gets it, and MC is way behind in economy. He's basically only mining off of 1 base, but that doesn't stop him from coming out here, laying down these storms, getting a drop with a flank to get even more storms. Then he just GG's, and we're heading on into Game 2. And in Game 2, we've got Virus getting some great force fields used against him here, and he manages to pick up the units and get away, but MC blinks to make sure he picks up those medevacs and gets rid of them, and really does some damage to Virus's forces. A little bit later, MC pushes into Virus's expansion, gets some great force fields here, good feedback on the medevacs, just some amazing play out of MC here, and then just a few seconds later, he pushes again, gets some perfect force fields this time. GG from Virus, and we're heading on into Game 3. And in Game 3, we get a Hellion drop here that gets 7 probes. And even though he lost those Hellions, the medevac does get away. Good trade for Virus. Really put a damper on MC's economy and gave him a jump start. A little bit later here, we've got an engagement. MC gets some really good force fields. And again, Virus gets the sick pickup and brings his forces home so they can live to fight another day. MC's pushing here into Virus's main. He lifts his orbital, does a lot of damage, but he doesn't get the orbital down. He doesn't get the expansion, and he takes a lot of damage here. He has to pull back. Virus goes here trying to draw MC's forces out, and it works, and he just does too much damage. MC has to GG, and he gives the win to Virus. Virus wins this match 2-1. Wrapping up our look at GSL this week, we've got Inca versus NST, where we get a good look of Inca getting these Void Rays and Zealots in the NST base, doing a lot of harassment. There's not a whole lot these Lings are going to do to those Void Rays, and those Void Rays are going to do a lot of damage to the economy and much everything else. But that doesn't stop NST from getting these mutas, getting them into the mineral line, and doing a ton of damage to Inca's economy, and just does a ton of harassment with those mutas. And At this point here, there's a pylon right there at the bottom of the screen, and Artosis, of all people, points out that he probably should have built a second pylon. We got these mutas still harassing, takes out that pylon, GG, Nest's up 1-0. In the second game, this Nexus goes down with the Void Rays that you see shooting. They were just out of position. They could not get back here in time to defend that Nexus. It goes down. Nest comes in, and Inca shows carriers, of all things. To see in this level of play, carriers is not something you see that often. Mutas outrun carriers, so Nest just builds mutas and goes and harasses the economy. At one point in time, ends up having killed 70 workers with those mutas. He comes in with the corruptors on these carriers, keeps coming with the corruptors and the mutas, and bringing in lings and roaches on the Nexus. And he just, with the infested Terrans, he just keeps coming at Inca, getting those carriers out of position, burning them down one by one with the corruptors and the mutas, and Inca is just so far behind. Each one of those carriers he loses is such a big investment of his economy that he can't stand to lose it. Here's another Nexus going down. More lings coming in. Here's the last of the carriers going down. This is just a nail in the coffin, and Inca has to GG and give Nest the game and the match 2-0.
With Huck getting knocked out of Code A, leaving Naniwa as the foreigner hope, and Boxer stepping away for his shoulder problem, GSL is going to continue to be entertaining to watch this season. I know I've picked who I want to win, but I can't wait to see how it shapes up. The world of esports always has something going on, and it's extremely difficult to keep track of it all. So if there's any news or an event that you're aware of that you think we should know about, please send us an email at progamingweekly@gmail.com and let us know. While we don't have time to cover everything, we definitely can't cover something if we're not aware of it. I just want to give one last reminder. Please make sure you continue to spread the word about our giveaway on Facebook so we can give away that $20 gift card to Jinx.com, and hopefully we can start giving away bigger and better stuff. Till next week, thanks for watching. I didn't say that in any way, shape, or form the way it appears on there. I mean, I said the same thing, just didn't use those words.